Aloha, everybody. So good to be with you guys today after the market's crazy couple of days. I am hoping all of you live to trade another day. Today is August 6th, 2024. My name is Kim Ann Curtin, the Wall Street Coach, and I do this 2 days a week now, live coaching, and this is really in service to the trading community to be a contribution to those who I don't coach one-on-one. All right, let me just check my audio here. Let's see. I think that should be better. So hopefully it is audio output. I get a little confused. Let's just see. Just give me a thumbs up, guys, if you can hear me. I think I am mixing up something. So if anybody is willing to just run into the chat box quickly and tell me if you can hear me. And if not, I have to reverse my audio. Let's see what you sounds great over here. Thank you so much, Anthony. Well, it's been a while, 48 hours. So I am kind of curious how those who are here have survived. Even better now. Perfect. This is with the Shure on, but I just have to remember these settings. I have to go into it every time, Anthony. The output is the MacBook Pro and the audio input is the M7. So actually, I'm going to take a quick picture just so I remember these next time. I don't know why they've mixed me up so much, but they have. Anywho, so why do I do this? I do this to do speed coaching. I don't know how many of you guys even know this, but my coaching began a year and a half before the '08 crisis. I left one of the largest hedge funds in the world to start my own coaching practice. I had just finished spending a year with a coach myself, and it was transformational. Thank you, Angela, so much for checking too. And because of that transformational experience with a coach, I decided that I was being called to become a coach, and my focus was going to be initially on, casting a big wide net. But over time, of course, I realized, wait a minute, I should be coaching traders, and I should be coaching those who come from the world I've worked in now at that point for a decade. So now 28 years in finance, that's a long time, 18 of those as a coach. But I'm bringing this up specifically in hindsight of what happened yesterday. When I first started coaching, I found my business I started in 2006, and for the next basically year and a half, I didn't have any issue with business. But the summer of 2008, I just was watching my client base decline. People stopped spending money, and of course, October 7, 2008 was the day they considered it a crash, so to speak. So what happened shortly thereafter was a good friend said, look, if you're born to coach, you should just go and coach for free and, get some money in through temp work or what have you, which is exactly what I did. So for the from October 8th, 2008 until October 8th, 2009, I coached speed coaching on a bench outside the New York Stock Exchange. There's pictures of me. I probably even have one in my phone. But a reporter saw me down there coaching and talked to me about what I was doing, asked to see if anybody would let him sit in on the coaching sessions. Long story short, Chris Taylor is that reporter's name. And he called me in that article, The Wall Street Coach. And it was from there that I got this, trademark. Since then, I went and bought it on GoDaddy for $8.50, thanks to Chris's genius at naming me that. And but the reason I bring all this up is because during that time, everybody was in a panic. And that is part of what happened yesterday, right? Well, it kind of started the Sunday evening, if you were paying attention. So, what I want to speak to is just how important it is for you all to realize that when that occurs in the market more than ever, your emotional intelligence is going to be a anchor for you if you have developed it, if you have strengthened it. You really have to think about emotional intelligence is preparing you for when that hits the fan. But what happens is a lot of times people don't prioritize it. And what will occur is they will say to themselves, oh God, today is the kind of day I need it, or yesterday or Sunday night. And it's not what good is it going to do you then? It's like a storm, right? You have to prepare for storms before they come in. You got to get the toilet paper and the water and the canned goods and the batteries for the radio or for the flashlights or the candles or the matches way before the storm hits, right? Florida just went through this. You have to ask yourself as a trader, if you are really serious about making it through the distance, the only way you're going to live to trade another day is to have prepared yourself so that when things get crazy volatile, you are ready, not just for the incoming, potential panic that people go through, but also so that you can be creatively strategic at the opportunities that are going to abound. But if you are caught up in, you know, the different people you get exposed to and you don't have that anchor within yourself to be strong, it can be like a tidal wave. If you are surfing for the first time on a really big wave and you've really never been in the ocean before, you don't know how to respond to that kind of big wave when it takes you under. Keeping your cool is the name of the game with surfing and especially with trading. So this is part of why I do this, guys. I've done this since 2008. 2008, people were getting fired on the trading floor in the stock exchange, coming out with a box, their belongings from their desk in a box. Like, it was messy then, very, very messy, and it lasted for a while. So I just want you to know that, like, this does happen. This is the cyclical nature of the market. You want to ask yourself, and I'd be curious for everybody to share if you're open to it. Please tell me what happened for you emotionally. How did your trading get impacted by what happened yesterday? Were you able to, observe yourself and see, oh, I'm really triggered right now. Oh, I'm really panic stricken. Oh, I'm very confident, maybe too confident to get these opportunities. I want to know from you guys what happened for you yesterday. Also, I'm going to do live coaching. I'm going to do these almost every Tuesday and Thursday. But the best bang for your buck, if you're watching this, is to not watch me just wax on, but to get courageous, raise your hand, and come into the room and let me speed coach you on the trading challenge you're up against. That makes this much more powerful, not just for the participant, but for everybody watching. Because, of course, most people watching are going to be like, hey, I go through that too. So many traders think they're the only one. You guys, you're never the only one. There's always multiple traders out there who are struggling with the very thing you're struggling with. So I'm going to pause there and just invite you guys to please put your chat comments in with regards to whether you want to volunteer for coaching, or if you don't, what your challenge is that I can just speak to off the cuff. Okay. What else do I want to say? Housekeeping is that I want to thank our sponsor, Centerpoint, and I'm going to put that in the chat box right now. Here's a special link they've given to me for the listeners that I have in these live coachings. And I really hope you guys will consider checking them out because they're incredible. Can't say enough good things about Centerpoint, and their customer service is just, like superb. You will not find better customer service out there because they care so much. Their team cares so much about traders. So if you're an active trader, please check them out. I'm going to put their link because I understand X doesn't seem to carry the links that I create over from Restream. So I've just attached that over and would love for you guys to check them out. What else? Also, if you like this commentary, then I really hope you'll sign up for the PDF of this. Part of the PDF that I have for you guys is specific to my 5 practices. The 5 practices are what you're going to hear me speak about if you watch anything with me for long. You're going to see those mentioned again and again. Why? Because I found that those 5 practices were held in common by some of the most famous traders and investors out there, from Jim Rogers to John Bogle to Bill Ackman. I got to interview some of 50 Wall Street 50 is what I've named them, to find out how they were able to stay true to themselves, how to navigate crazy volatility, how to navigate when they were standing alone in their perspectives without compromising their own values, without compromising their own integrity. And those 50 men and women all came down to the same 5 practices. They may have called it something different than I called it, but we were seeing evidence of the very same characteristics. And those are practices that anybody can, basically start to practice, start to live, start to come from. And that's why you're going to hear me over and over again speak to those 5 practices, because they are simple. I wouldn't say they're easy, but they are simple. So please sign up. That's a free PDF here of the 5 practices. I'm putting that up now too, guys, up on Twitter, X. What happened? Elon Musk said, does everybody want to come back to Twitter? I think most people said yes, and yet he still was leaving the name as X, because we can't say I X'd it. No, we have to say I tweeted it, right? Sign up, free PDF here, the 5 practices that the Wall Street 50 have in common. Okay. All right. So that's up on X as well now. And of course, it's on Restream because that shows up on YouTube. All right. So, do I have any volunteers or anybody even asking for coaching on anything specific? Doesn't look like it so far. Come on, guys. We got 38 traders in the room. These are so much better when I have something to wax off on. But I'll just speak about volatility. I'm going to speak just about your emotions and the physiology of emotions, because I think more than ever, days like Sunday night, Monday, even all of today, and what's happened is again an indication that the market is a reflection of the emotional state that people are in. Couple of things that I want to point to, and both of these are books that I actually have on my shelf, so I want to get them right now off my shelf to speak to them. I'm looking for the confidence map here. So these 2 books, if you guys have any doubt about the importance of why emotions affect you as a trader, you will need to read this book, which is The Hour Between Dog and Wolf by John Coates. He did 2 studies being able to basically every day he was able to discover what a trader's testosterone levels were. And based on that, based on the levels, he was able to predict whether they were going to have profitability or not. If you don't know about these studies, send me a DM and I will send you these 2 studies. But this book and his studies I read 12 years ago, and I knew from the get-go this was a critical part of any trader being able to understand themselves much better. You are physiologically being controlled to survive, and the body and your choices are hijacked by your hormones, by your cortisol, by your testosterone. And part of this is the subtitle. John Coates has a newer version of this book, so the subtitle is different now. But I like the old. This is my old copy from 12 years ago. But I like this subtitle better. Here's what it says: risk taking, gut feelings, and the biology of boom and bust. The biology, people, of boom and bust. So, what he's saying is that the booms and the busts are happening because there is a biological reason. The speed at which emotion travels across every trading desk. I don't care if you're in your mother's basement or you're sitting in one of the largest hedge funds in the world. The energy, the biology of whether things are going to hell in a handbasket or things are like unstoppably good, that energy spreads quicker than a pandemic across traders globally. And what you've got to realize, that is not happening on a conscious level. It's happening unconsciously. It's happening because of your physiology. And this is why the traders who have multiple successes in a row find themselves doing things. They're like, what the hell? I thought I was the master of the universe after that. Yes, because your biology has been kicked up. Your testosterone is through the roof. And now you think you can be unstoppable, but it's not true. So, isn't it better for you guys to be able to witness this and observe this about yourself way before you get to a Sunday or a Monday or even a Tuesday like we've just had? I say, hell yeah, it is, because you are prepared then. You go and notice yourself. Oh, look at that. I am starting to have a panic. Oh, look at that. I'm starting to think I'm a master of the universe. Oh, look at that. You can start to catch yourself if you start early. It's going to be really hard in the throes of the, tsunami of activity. That's why you want to start working on yourself, doing some work around being self-aware way, way, way before days like these last 2 or 3 days begin. Also, I want to just speak to the power of being, again, clear at where you are. And that is done by Peter Atwater's book, The Confidence Map. If you are a trader or an investor, you must read this book. It is these two books, you'd be crazy not to read, because they are going to help you understand yourself. This is Peter Atwater. He's been on my podcast twice. If you haven't heard of him, if you haven't seen him, his wisdom is going to pierce your heart, because you're going to be like, oh my God, where has this man been all my life? His subtitle is Charting a Path from Chaos to Clarity. And here's what I want to say about his book: it is the simplest map you're ever going to be able to see. And when you understand, first of all, where you are on that very simple 4-quadrant map, which I'm going to show you in a second, you also then can start to imagine where the traders on the other side of your trade are. You do need to be conscious of that, guys. You do need to be taking in the big picture. Yes, there's a lot of details you have to pay attention to, but you never want to be caught in the weeds as a trader. You also have to have a sense of the big picture, because it's going to give you clarity on all of the nuance that's afoot. So here, I'm going to hold this up to you guys. Here is this map. You guys should make this map right now if you have a pencil and a pad of paper, because it's so simple. It's 4 boxes. And on the left axis, Peter has control. It's either low or high, right? Very simple. This axis is control. It's either low or it's high. And bottom axis, what does that have? Certainty. That is how certain are you. And guess what? That is low or high. So that's it, right? Draw your little square, guys. Put those 4 squares there. Put certainty on the left. Put certainty on the bottom, put control on the left axis, right? So this is control, this is certainty. Low, high, low, high. Now, what you want to realize is that at all times, guys, all of us, every trader, I don't care if it's Paul Tudor Jones, I don't care if it's Jim Rogers, I don't care if it's Jason Shapiro, like everybody at all times is going to be someplace on this map. The key is to be conscious of that map. The key is to be conscious of where are you in this moment? Where are you? Are you feeling like you have low control and low certainty? Guess what happens when that is the case? You are going to have a cocktail of physiological effects upon you that the strongest willpower isn't going to be able to plow through. Awareness is the only knife that can cut through. Oh, look at that. I'm not feeling confident and I am not feeling certain. Even naming it, even being able to consciously recognize that that is what's going on for you is going to put a little bit of space between you and what the cocktail of emotions are creating for you. That is what I'm advocating. That is self awareness, guys. And that's why this is so critical for you. So, you just went through what you went through, the roller coasters since Sunday night. Get prepared for the next one now because there's all different versions of this volatility every day. And I want you to be prepared and I want your body also to be prepared. This is why I repeatedly tell every trader that I coach, I want you to start to view yourself as an Olympian. And it's so perfect because the Olympics are all over the place right now. Everybody is watching these incredible men and women do things that just defy reality. They just constantly are pushing themselves. But would you expect any of these Olympians to be headed to McDonald's the night before their meet? Of course not. Would any of these Olympians that they talk so much about those damn cardboard beds they're sleeping on, you think that's helping their sleep? Of course it's not. So you got to ask yourselves, I want to trade with the most brilliant people in the world, which is ballsy enough, excuse my French, the most intelligent people out there who have millions, if not hundreds of millions, and or more for some of the big firms. And I think I have a fighting chance going in, never exercising, not getting good sleep at night, eating crap food, not getting any kind of vitamin D, sunlight on my body. How do you think that's going to go? That's like you showing up against an Olympian and thinking you might stand a chance to win. Come on. This is why you guys start to see yourself as an Olympian. Be mindful of what is happening with your body, your sleep, your nutrition. Be clear on what your levels are. I've talked to you guys recently that I have just made this partnership with a diagnostic lab because this is a big part of what I want traders to always do when they start to work with me is get their lab work done so we can take a look because there are going to be chemical side effects if your testosterone levels are low, if your cortisol is too high, your adrenals, if you've been working during that meme spike. I had traders left and right coming in who had been working crazy hours for 2 years. Their adrenals were shot. A whole bunch kaleidoscope of other things were shot. You got to realize, guys, that affects your cognitive ability. It affects your ability to see pattern recognition. You are going to be sort of out of focus if your physiology, if your biology isn't at the top peak of performance levels. And I don't know that the majority of traders think about this, and that's not good. It's just not good. What can I tell you? All right. So that is, yep, that is the YouTube Live for the PDF. Please sign up there for copy. And today's practice, I'm going to keep Tuesdays to kind of a wild card. But Thursdays is when I'll speak, robustly on the 5 practices. But I still would like to get you guys that PDF because I want you to see the overview of those 5 practices because those practices will also help you basically get yourselves in a better position so that whatever is happening physiologically, you can start to be conscious of, you can start to do something about. And part of the reason why I'm showing you guys uh, Peter Outwater's confidence map is because just with that simple map, you're able to find yourself becoming more aware of what's happening for yourself with regards to what he speaks of. Just like on a plane, this is one of the examples Peter gives in his book, which is so powerful. Every single one of us gets on that plane. And if there is turbulence or worse, if we possibly were feeling certain and like we were in control, in the control of, like, I know I'm with a good airline, not a cheap one. I know my pilot looks, he's experienced. But as soon as turbulence hits, or worse, like everything starts shaking. I just heard a recent horror story from one of my friends about this Frontier flight from hell. I think it was back in 2016. I did not hear about that. He told me. I read the articles. That was terrifying. But in that scenario, particularly, you're going to watch people not have any control, and their certainty is going to be in the gutter. That is when you're going to have your cortisol levels spike. If you are not conscious of these things, if you are not self aware and paying close attention, you potentially are going to be hijacked so dramatically that you are not even going to be sort of conscious of that actions you're taking. My hope is to have you guys avoid that at all costs. All right. So we got 99 people here. There's got to be somebody here who wants to get coached. Does anybody want to have some live coaching or have a question you want me to speak on in reference to your trading, in reference to what challenge you might be having? Please speak up because honestly, it's the best way for this to go. Of course, I have topics that I always bring to the conversation, but I much prefer to, be interactive with somebody. So I don't see anybody raising their hand or putting their questions in. So if you do have questions, please put them in the chat box now. And if you are, even if you're on X, it should work. True. You giving me comments works. I think my response doesn't always come through on X platform. All right. So what else did I want to say in reference to? Yeah. So if you have been trading and you haven't done any kind of lab work on yourself to understand what your levels are, you guys are doing yourself a disservice. So if you are interested in learning more about the diagnostic lab work that I'm going to be advocating and using for my clients, as I said, just sign up for our newsletter curtain call. You can sign up for the PDF there, the 5 practices, or you can send me a DM on X and I'll respond to you. The key here is that I want you guys to, I think part of why I love when the Olympics comes on and everybody gets into it, besides the level of inspiration, is it does start to make people pay closer attention to their own health. It does make people start to think of themselves, wait a minute, look, and when you hear the stories, you hear what's they've been up against. There was a woman, is she from the Grenadine Islands, where she talked about having no home for a really long time. Like you hear stories like that, and you're like, what am I complaining about? Right. So I just want you guys to think about If you want to succeed here as a trader for the long term, then what changes if you start to take yourself and your health and your way of showing up every day to your trading account more seriously? What if, you think about it, if you go out drinking and you wake up with a hangover, how well are you going to trade? If you're addicted to porn and you're watching that, that is also having a huge, huge impact on your testosterone levels and all the sex hormones. All of these things, guys, are ladders that are bringing you closer to achieving the goals you have set for yourself or undermining you as a trader. Trading is the hardest game out there. You have to ask yourselves, do you really want to make it harder on yourself? The market's doing plenty of that by itself. It doesn't need your help. So you want to start to think, oh, okay, if I really want to succeed here, then I better get my ducks in a row. And believe me, I get it. That takes a lot to put your ducks in a row. Takes a lot to not have that extra glass of wine late at night or scotch or whatever your predilection is. It takes a lot for you to take yourself off the screens 3 hours before you go to bed or 2 hours before you go to bed or at least 1 hour. Please, God, tell me you're doing that so you can get yourself into the perfect, heading into your sleep so that your eyes, I wear these damn blue light glasses, even though probably most of them, they say they don't even work because I figure, what do I have to lose, right? All I want you guys to do is start to look overall. Wow, where are some small changes that are easy enough for me to take on that will have the biggest bang for the buck? And I'm going to tell you right now how that's going to happen is if you start to just notice, just like Rick Carson says in his book, Taming Your Inner Gremlin, simply notice, right? Notice, how do you trade on the days when you eat like garbage or eat carbohydrates and no protein? How do you trade on the days when you didn't get proper night's sleep? How do you trade on the days when you have not exercised? Now, let's say you never exercise, you don't have any context, but I promise you, once you start to exercise and then you don't, you will see a huge change in your ability to trade. Um, Never mind your mindset. Being able to see and catch yourself being this, and that's Coates's book's title, right? The Hour Between Dog and Wolf. What does that title mean? It's in reference to indigenous community use that quote at about the time of day, which was dusk, when it was hard to know coming out of the woods whether that dog was a wolf or that wolf was a dog, because this ambiguity at dusk, right? Our vision isn't completely clear. But also, he speaks in the book that it also represents this Jekyll Hyde that happens to traders, right? There are traders who are like him. I don't even know what happened to me. It was like I was possessed. It was like I was taken over. Like, how did that happen? Biology people, physiology people. That's how it happened. You weren't possessed by an entity. You were possessed by your hormones responding, reacting in a way that would save your tuchus if you had a lion chasing you, but doesn't save your tuchus if you're a traitor. Your body, your back here, guys. This is the back. That is the oldest part of our brain. That thing is not changing anytime soon for any of us. And it is very much going to hijack even the most disciplined trader if they aren't self aware, if they aren't conscious of the fact that their physiology plays a part, that your emotions are playing a part in the choices and the actions you take. So, for the love of God, pay attention to them because then you have a much better chance at being able to stay on that surfboard no matter what the volatility in the markets are, whether it's a red day or a green day. You are going to be able to somehow stay above it all. One of the reasons I love traders so much is because traders remind me so much of myself in the sense of being an entrepreneur. I look at day traders as the ultimate entrepreneur. You guys basically are on your own, just like an entrepreneur is. You guys have to basically do everything, right? Just like an entrepreneur. But one of the most powerful books that I read when I was first becoming an entrepreneur 18, 19 years ago was a book called The E Myth by Michael Gerber. And he talks specifically about the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs make is that they can get caught up in the weeds. They can work in their business, but not on their business because they're so used to, let's just say, making apple pies. I got to make this apple pie, make this apple pie. They don't spend enough time coming up and out of the being in the kitchen to look at the prices of apple pies maybe in their neighborhood, to look at the prices of their competition, to ask themselves, wait a minute, am I spending so much money on supplies and not charging enough for the pie? Right? All of those kind of questions are what happens often. They are neglected by entrepreneurs because you're just too busy. I'm guilty of that to this day, even though I'm conscious of it. I know that I can just want to be coaching people and I don't want to have to look at the business plan or look at the entire budget of this or come up with the marketing strategy for that. But I have to do it or my ability to coach one on one isn't going to be here for long. I want you to ask yourself as a trader, guys, how are you doing that as well? If you are just trading every day, trading, 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 and you're not pausing ever to look at your journals, to look at your patterns, to look at the, you know, percentage of your risk, if you aren't working on the big picture of your trading and only staying in the weeds of the trading, right? Working uh, in your trading, but not on your trading, you're potentially missing critical information. And I really want you guys to see part of what my advocacy today is about is that you start to work on your trading, not just in your trading. I want you to notice when you have a fight with a wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, when you come into trade that morning or the night, day after that fight that night, how is your trading impacted? You think it's not affecting you, and you would be incorrect. It is affecting you. Everything goes well. You win the lottery at the stupid gas station. You find you've had 6 weeks of everything flawless in your trading. Don't think it's not affecting you because it is. You have a flood of testosterone telling you you can do no wrong. And that is dangerous. But if you are conscious of it, if you are aware of it, if you're like, oh, there it is, there is that green eyed, I want more, 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 more greedy monster. It's just hijacked me. Now you have a chance to do something about it. Now you have the opportunity to pattern interrupt yourself and not get caught in the undertow of what easily can pull you in so quick. If you guys have never got caught in an undertow or in a riptide, let me tell you, by the time you're in it, it's too late. And I don't want that to happen for you guys. I want you guys to be looking at that ocean. I want you to be looking at yourself when you come into a trading day. I want you to be listening to what's happening in the market. You just have to look on X for 2 seconds and you're going to get a sense. I want you to be observing all of it. And then I want you to observe yourself again and be like, huh, am I up for this? These are big waves. These are 4 foot, 8 8-foot, 6-foot waves. Am I up for it? Let's see. I have a hangover. I didn't eat breakfast. And yeah, I'm a big battle with my cousin. So maybe I'm not supposed to trade today. Like that is what you got to start to really look at. One of the best interviews I did was with Shane Torian, who is a big wave surfer and a trader. Uh, and he's a Can Slim trader. He follows that style. And he talked about, if you haven't seen that interview, I highly recommend it. It's on YouTube. Shane's been on my podcast. I'm very fortunate many times, but look for the one with him. I think it's one of my first podcasts with him. Anyway, Shane talks about how he will, and he's, by the way, just a shout out to Shane. He has just been coaching all the Olympic surfers for the past few months. He's been in Tahiti, preparing them for their Olympics, performance. And if you don't follow him on Instagram, the pictures have been amazing. All the surfers that he's been working with, it's been really cool to just watch them get prepared. And shout out to Shane for doing that for the United States Olympic team. It's a pretty cool thing to have. I can't imagine being any of those surfers, having Shane be their coach. That had to be pretty awesome. But one thing Shane says that is so applicable to traders is he says, I will hear about big waves coming into a particular part of the world, and I will, book my ticket. And that's going to be a very expensive ticket, right? He's chasing the wave. He wants to go surf a big wave. But he said, so I've moved my schedule around. I may have spent a lot of cash on a ticket to get there. I will show up. I will, get the rest the night before. And if I wake up that morning and I can tell my body isn't right because I didn't get enough sleep, because I'm still dehydrated from the flight the day before, because I just feel off, right? As a pro athlete, that man is so synced in to his physiology. He is so tuned in to his muscles, to his previous injuries, to his sense of equanimity and equilibrium. He said in that interview, if I have any doubt at all that all of my operating systems aren't green light, aren't 100%, I will not surf, because it's the ultimate cost if he does and something goes wrong. He could die. Like, he's already almost died a couple of times because of those big waves. It's not a joke. So he has an option. Either he started early to pay attention to whether his physiology was on point, whether his body was on point, whether his nutrition, nourishment, sleep, all of these ducks were in a row. And if they weren't, he's out. No doubt, no questions, no regrets. That is a man who is smart enough to know he wants to surf another day. You have to ask yourselves that, guys. If you want to trade another day, you have to start to look at yourself like a professional. You have to start to approach every day. Are you up for what the market's giving? What has just happened in these 2.5 days? Are you up for it? Have you done enough eyeball time with pattern recognition? Have you worked on your emotional well-being and your sense of control? Have you been preparing yourself for the kind of volatility that is afoot? If the answer to those things are no, why would you want to risk your capital? Why would you want to risk your ability to ever trade again if you haven't at least paused? Ask yourself, am I really ready? Am I really up for this? Is my P&L in a position to navigate this? Do I have my stop losses in place? Do I even know what my risk strategy is? If none of those are in place, then you've got to ask yourself, maybe I'm not ready for that. And that is nothing to be ashamed about. Of course, you want to be in it with everybody else. Of course, you don't want to be the one man outside of it. But let me tell you what's worse, being in it and not being able to trade the next day because you lost all your money or screwed something up. And that was something Pax uh, put out up on his X the other day. I'm looking for it because it was so perfect. I want to read it exactly like he said it. Well, where was it? I think it was the end of yesterday. And if you're not following Pax, please do. His accounts always encouraging, always optimistic, and also speaks the truth. He'll shoot straight from the hip and call shit out when he sees it with traders. But I love him so much. He was on my podcast too. If you haven't watched that podcast, holy crap, you guys should totally go watch that one because his story is quite something. All right, so let's see here. What did he say? He said, and this was late last night. Where is it? He also posted this. This is so funny. It says everything is fine. It was somebody else's post. He said it made him laugh. It's this guy who's eating spaghetti in the pouring rain with fire behind him and drinking his wine and a armed tank going behind him. And it's just, I don't know, that cracked me up too. All right, so what did he say? Here, Pax Traders 777. Follow him, guys, if you're not on if you're not doing that right now. But here, I want to show you his tweet because this and I responded to him. I was like, Pax, that was the best tweet anybody could have put out there just now. Here it is. If you live to fight another day, you had a good day. That was yesterday. He put that up. Can you guys see that? There he is. There he is. If you live to fight another day, you had a good day. I just want to ask all the traders that live to fight another day, is that how you felt about yourself? Did you actually say at the end of that craziness? Or, I mean, it's not even over yet, right? But yesterday, at the end of that day, did anybody pat themselves on the back and say, you know what? I lived to fight another day. I had a good day. If you didn't say that to yourself, what the hell, people? You're just way too hard on yourselves. That's what I can say. Angela, I'm so glad that you're laughing because he cracks me up. He just cracks me up. He just tells it like it is. He doesn't hold back. He just shoots straight from the hip every time. And he has an excellent sense of humor. And he also really cares about traders. Oh my God. Like, you guys, that man loves you all and is just always sending so much good juju to day traders. Those are the guys that I love to follow. I love to follow the ones that are encouraging traders. I like to follow the ones that are optimistic. I want to just clarify, that doesn't mean they're, you know, what do you call it? Like, Rebecca from Sunnybrook Farm, and they're not calling shit out when shit happens. But they're, at the end of the day, they could be viewed more as a glass half full kind of person, when the shit's hitting the fan, even when things are going to hell in a handbasket. They're able to not take themselves too seriously. They're able to at least find a way to, laugh at themselves and the situation. And, I have this really good friend. Her name is Wendy. We've been friends for, God, I don't know, 15 years at least. And we both can hold space for each other no matter what is going on and not give each other advice, which is a very rare quality. Most times, God bless our friends, they want to help us. They want to solve something for us. They want to give us a solution. But 9 times out of 10, most people, certainly me, I just want to have somebody hold space for me and say, that sucks. I'm really sorry that happened. God damn it. I wish that didn't have occurred for you. And that's it. I just need somebody to be like, I'm sorry that happens. And that's enough. That's enough. She can do that for me. But if we both talked about this the other day, because we both were in really good moods, everything was like feeling good for both of our lives in that conversation. And we both talked about how even when the shit has hit the fan, when both of us are down in the depths of hell with X, Y, and Z happening to both of us, we both said, but you know what? Even then, we are able to somehow make a joke and laugh with each other or get the other one to laugh. And that is the epitome of being in a place where you remember rule number 6. What is rule number 6? To not take yourself so goddamn seriously. So whatever's happened for you in these last 72 hours, don't take yourself too seriously. That is also physiological. That also can happen biologically to all of us. When things are down, when we're feeling depressed, when we feel demoralized, it's very easy to stay in the downward spiral. Interrupt that pattern. Notice, oh, it's alcohol, right? It puts us in a depressed state. I'm calling you out, Stephanie. No, no. See, Stephanie, your topic is so perfect because everybody struggles with it. And I talk about rule number 6, Stephanie, probably 17 times a day. So I know it feels very personal for you right now, but I promise you I'm not calling you out. Not with you, but I have name dropped you, but in last week's episode, not today. But Stephanie, do you want to come into the room? I have a few minutes left, 10 minutes left. If you want to come in now, I'd love to have you because we haven't had anybody volunteer to come in today. And I got a few minutes left. And that is just, I think, the better part of these is if I have somebody to work with. So, Steph, you're on YouTube. So, what I'm going to do here is give you the link to how to get in. And if you can't come in or don't want to come in, that's cool. I'm just giving it to you in case you can. So yes, but this, I want you to know, Stephanie. Stephanie did some coaching, live coaching with me. Was it last week or the week before? I think it was last week, last Tuesday. Part of what I was telling Stephanie to do is to look up rule number 6. How are you, Stephanie?
Hey, good.
It's good
How
to
are
see
you?
you. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So what'd you think of rule number 6?
I have a hard time with it.
How so? Tell me how so.
Man, I should have wrote notes, but um, I find it hard to make mistakes on purpose because I feel like it affects way more people than me. Like if I make a wrong choice, like I
Yes.
could have just like ditched on some plans I had and been like, oh, I forgot. But then I'm like, that makes me feel horrible. Like then I'm
Yep.
letting other people down. And
Yep.
there's like there was multiple examples of that when I've always thought of like I could make the wrong decision here, but then it's just like affecting other people.
Yeah. So
But then
first I want to say really good job at noticing that was part of it. And I think you might be onto something with that because is it okay to put my coaching hat on and just ask a couple of questions?
yeah,
So I'm just kind of curious, as a kid growing up, were you sort of in a role where you had to take on, let's say, responsibility at a young age?
yeah.
So, about what age do you think you started to be kind of like a mini adult?
I don't know if it was like many adult responsibility wise, but I just didn't want to be a problem.
Yes.
Like there was other problems going on that
Yep.
where I just like sat back and I'm like the quiet one and I'm
Yeah.
always just like,
Easy.
yeah. And I've
Yeah.
seen recent reels about this and I was like, oh my goodness, that was me. But it's like the one like where your parents are always like, you're the one I don't have to worry about. And they're like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So I was
Totally.
like,
So,
then it just,
how old do you think roughly you may have been when you knew, oh, if I don't cause any trouble, that gives them one less thing to worry about?
like 8 or 9.
Yeah. So you don't have to tell me your exact age unless you're comfortable doing so, but where are you at now, decades wise? Is that like 2 decades since then, at least?
Yeah, I'm 40.
Okay. So, but we're talking now basically 3 decades of practicing a role of being the easy, non-trouble causing person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that you got to realize is a very entrenched way of operating. Right?
Yeah.
You do anything for 3 decades.
Yeah, it's kind of like part of who I am now.
Yes.
It's like that's part of my personality.
Or so your inner critic would have you believe. So what I'm proposing is, what if that isn't actually your personality, but a costume that you had to put on 32 years ago to navigate the environment you were in?
Yeah.
Now, if that's possible, we don't know, but if it's possible, it could be just because it's familiar and it's been here for 32 years that you presume it's your personality, but it isn't.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a hoot if it wasn't who you naturally, authentically are?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know what it would be like to not be somebody with their shit together.
And also, let's extrapolate from that concept, shit together, or could we also just say a person who has to do everything perfectly and right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
right.
definitely perfectionism vibes going on.
Right. So just notice how that inner critic inside of you took doing everything perfect and went to the focus of I wonder what it would be like to be a person who didn't have their shit together. Do you see the judgment in that statement?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you're coming with a inner critic constantly demanding that you show up perfectly, could you appreciate why it might be really hard for you to be with the trades that you're mistaken on?
Yeah.
Right? Because that is the one thing for 32 years you were able to pull off everywhere but here.
Yeah. I noticed too, in my thoughts, like, so I wasn't able to make a lot of mistakes in my everyday life, but I did make more trading mistakes. But then I noticed like what I was feeling right away was like, I want to fix it right away. So then that's why I get into the cycle of like keep over trading. Like I said, if something goes against me and it's fine, like the pattern just didn't work or something. But if I actually made a mistake or my timing was off or I did something I knew I shouldn't have done and then I did it, then I'm trying to fix it.
Yeah.
And it
Because you're
usually makes it worse.
and the reason you're swimming so hard to fix it is because there is a visceral response in your nervous system, in your biology, that is telling you you potentially aren't safe if you don't have things perfect.
Mhm. So what do I do about that?
Well, first, just seeing it is a big step in the right direction, but it's a process of beginning to heal that part of yourself or that story. There's a story that for
Mhm.
32 years has told you you won't be okay if things are not perfect. People around you might not be okay if you aren't perfect. But
Mhm.
that is misinformation. It might have been true when you were 8 years old, but not anymore.
Yeah. So
So
it's just brain work that I have to do.
it isn't brain work because guess what? This is not an intellectual process. You aren't intentionally, consciously thinking these things. You
Mhm.
are coming from a emotional and somatic, which means the body is kind of pulling you towards that perfection because your body learned early that keeps me safe. So your body's like instinctively taking you to safety.
Mhm.
The key is for you to start to rewire your nervous system, rewire your unconscious bias towards perfection. And that won't take 5 minutes, but obviously that's one of the things I do coach people on. I would teach you, and I have lots of different ways you can work with me, but what you're going to need to do is do this physiological practice to teach your system, or better yet, reteach it, how to sit in the imperfection for just a second or two. If you're open to it, I'll stay a little longer and do it with you right now if you want to try it.
Okay.
So this is what would happen, just to give you a sense. I'll be asking you to close your eyes, and then I'll be asking you to basically take kind of like a metaphoric elevator from your head down into your body. Do you feel like you're in a position to do that for a couple of minutes?
Okay. I'll try.
Let me say this. You could find yourself feeling triggered. You could find your heart rate gets like, we don't know what's going to happen, but physiologically, some shit starts to happen. So I want to make sure you're okay to do that. And I don't know where you're going. Either you just came home or you're about to go out. So this is not something you would want to do if you had to rush off afterwards. So what do you think?
I don't know. Now I'm a little scared.
Yeah. It's understandable to be cautious. I don't want you to be scared, but I do want you to know like what we're getting you into, because we are going to go visit that place where that discomfort comes up. And if you're not ready to do it today, we can try another day. Maybe today's not the day for you, but this practice is the practice that gave me the breakthroughs, and I've seen it give other people breakthroughs too. And this is based on two teachers of mine. One of them is Raphael Kushner. He is also featured on my podcast, so you could always watch that conversation first if you wanted to. And Dr. Peter Levine, and his book is called, again, I speak about books because they are a big part of my life. When I say them, that doesn't mean you have to read them. I'm just speaking about where I learned certain techniques from. But Levine's book is called Waking the Tiger. And what he teaches all of us is that the animal kingdom they are experiencing life and death situations multiple times a day sometimes, but they don't have trauma. And what he discovered is the reason they don't have trauma is because when, let's say, a gazelle is running from a lion, and if it gets away, before it returns to the herd, it will go find an area to hide, like behind a bush, and it will shake and tremor out the encounter. It could take hours to release the physiological adrenaline, all of it, and discharge it. And when it's finished, it will go back to the herd and never even think about it again. Think about humans. What do we do when we have a trauma?
We think about it over and over, and we talk about it over and over.
But we never feel it, right?
Yeah, you don't want to feel it again. No.
Nope. But that is what keeps us stuck.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try that. But I feel like there's going to be tears involved. So I don't want to do it.
Honey, there will definitely be tears involved. And that is part of what is the disbursement. Tears, if you even research when we are emotional and we start to cry, be it sad tears, happy tears, or just grieving tears, it actually shifts our chemistry after we cry. Most of us needed to cry countless times when we were kids, but our environment did not welcome it. Our environment, be it our parents, be it our caretakers, our teachers, or peers, they didn't know how to handle their own. So if ours showed up, it would freak them out. And then we felt like not only the pain of whatever caused us that discomfort in the first place. But then we felt ashamed for having what is a human experience or emotion come up.
Yeah, there's definitely like been passed down in my family is very good at like, you just stuff those emotions down and you don't deal with them.
Exactly. And let me tell you, culturally, that's across the board.
Yeah,
All
that's
of
like
us,
a boomer generation thing, right?
multi generations, correct. So part of what we can also discover as this journey of you starting to perhaps, contemplate this, is it's possible that you don't have just your own emotions held inside of you, but multiple generations of emotions that others in your bloodline never got to feel.
Wow,
Yep.
interesting.
Aren't we the lucky ones? But here's the opportunity, Stephanie. You have an opportunity now to stop it with you, to not let that cycle keep going.
Yeah.
And you also have an opportunity to potentially be an extraordinary trader. That is why trading is the best school of enlightenment, because what works in every other industry isn't going to work here. Pretending like you're having to stay perfect would work in almost every corporate job.
Mhm.
They would love it. They
Yeah.
move you up the top of the C-suite in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I've never had trouble moving up at jobs because I just could get through things by working hard and like
Exactly.
applying myself and solving problems and everything. But when it comes to this and myself, I just can't.
But this is what you're seeing now, is that you, whole you, fully you, isn't allowed to breathe, because there is an expectation you got taught early that you have to basically be not human, a robot, perfect, not feeling, not anything that you naturally, organically are. That's an incredible ask. But the market is wanting to set you free.
Okay.
The market is your Yoda. Did you ever see Star Wars?
Yeah.
Right? Remember Yoda in the swamp with Luke Skywalker?
Mm-hmm.
Remember what Luke says?
No.
At some point, Yoda's talking about fear and whatnot, and Luke is like, I'm not afraid. And what does Yoda say to him?
I don't remember that.
You will be.
Yeah.
He's so filled with hubris because he's been perfect his whole life, right? He's at the top of his food chain with being a pilot, but now he's got to level up. You embracing your humanity, your imperfection, is going to make you unstoppable, Stephanie.
Good.
Okay. When you're ready to do that exercise with me, you just come into these. I'm here Tuesday, Thursdays. You want to read up on it, watch Raphael Kushner's interview on my podcast, look up Peter Levine. There's lots of talks of him out there. Get familiar with what this somatic process looks like. Then we can jump in and do it here if you want. And of course, if you ever want to, do more than that outside of the camera, then just let me know. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks
I
for
might
coming.
try some of that too, and then
Yeah,
let you know the results. But
definitely.
see what kind of
Definitely.
enlightenment I get.
Well, the enlightenment has already landed. Now it's just a matter of like, how do you begin to practice it, and how do you begin? But you want to do it in small steps. And that's something Raphael will say in that podcast. When you start to surf that inner, because as soon as you start to go into your body and allow yourself to contemplate imperfection, it will, like a pinball machine, start to feel like you're on tilt, right?
Mhm.
And what you're going to do is start out really slow, letting your body have that experience. And maybe it's for 5 seconds the first time. Maybe it's 10 seconds. Maybe you get to stay a minute. But as soon as you feel like you're close to tilt, you want to back out. You can't force that. You have to listen to your body's tolerance for the you're going to have discomfort, but the question is, be with the discomfort until it feels like tilt. Raphael's 2 questions that are in his book, The One Thing Holding You Back, are what's happening now, right? That's you observing and feeling at the same time. And the second question is, can I be with it? And that answer sometimes is going to be like, hell no, I'm not able to be with this one now. And that's okay. You back out. And then you go back next week and you stay maybe 1 or 2 seconds longer. What's happening now? Can I be with it?
Okay.
Good
But
job.
you said the closing your eyes exercise is going back, right?
It isn't going
Like-
back. It's just going into your body. So if I'll walk you through it without literally doing it with you if you prefer. You will close your eyes. You will imagine there's you on an elevator leaving your intellectual mind, your thinking mind, and going down into the body, into the physicality of you. And you're going to just notice, where is there a contraction? Where is there a sense of resistance? You're going to imagine a moment that's recent where you saw a trade went wrong and you felt like you had to fix it. You're going to isolate, where is that had to energy? Oh, it's right here in my belly or my chest or my shoulders. You're going to pinpoint where that spot is and you're going to be with it. And your head is going to want to think about it. Well, what does this mean? Well, what's going to happen? Well, what can I do with this? And what I'm saying is, oh, that's me. Back in my head again. Go back to your feeling. Go back to the emotion. Go back to your body. And then you're going to ask yourself, what's happening now? My heart is tight. Oh, I'm crying. Oh, I feel a lot of grief, a lot of anger. Can I be with it? Well, I could be with it for 20 seconds, but that's it. Or you start to sit with it and then it feels like it's moving into a different feeling. And that's when you don't like. That's, I can't be with it anymore. Then you gently come up and out of it. What we're doing, each of us, because I still practice this for myself, you're rewiring your system to see that the dragon you have been so afraid to look at and to be with, that you thought would kill you, actually, it didn't kill me. Look at that. I'm still here. And I'm laughing. Do you hear the car alarm? Can you hear that?
No.
Oh, I wasn't sure. There's a car alarm going off right now, but I always include whatever shows up in these conversations. So that car alarm is like, this bolding, a bold print of some of this technique. And that is the key. The thing about feelings is that we can't think our way out of them. We can only feel our way out of them, which kind of sucks, because who wants to go do that after a hard day of work?
Yeah, the point of avoiding them is so you don't have to feel it.
But unfortunately, we do feel it. They just are living in the basement of our body. But we have put the trapdoor down, a beautiful Karastan rug over it, a designer couch. But guess what? They're still in the house.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do that.
Okay. Good to talk to you, Stephanie. Good to see you. And thanks for always coming in. You're awesome.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
sweetheart.
Bye.
Be well. See you soon. Liz, I'm so glad that you would be willing to volunteer. I've run out of time today because this went a little late, but I'm going to be here on Thursday at 8:30 Eastern. If you want to come to that, Liz, please do. I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for all of you who've been here. Most thanks to Stephanie for being so vulnerable to come on here and do this. That takes a lot of guts. And I hope everybody will encourage Stephanie in the chat now. Or if you guys are connected someplace else on wherever, Stephanie lives. I don't know if Stephanie, you're on X or not. But just hopefully everybody just was able to see their own journeys reflected through Stephanie's journey. We're all much more alike than not. So let's all keep that in mind. You were a huge contribution to this community today, Stephanie. So thank you so, so, so much. Awesome, Liz. I'm so happy that you're going to be able to come to another one, and then I'll be happy to coach you. So I'm going to wrap this up today. The heart of today is that when perfectionism shows up in your trading account, that is usually an indication that you have a difficult time being human, a difficult time being fallible, a difficult time basically being who you will always be, which is kind of crazy, right? You're always going to be a human being. You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to be a robot. No matter how fast the eye is moving, none of you are going to not be the human fallible person that you are. So you might as well start to accept it and find out how much resistance you have to that, because that resistance is costing you. Oh, you're so welcome, Stephanie. Angela, you can totally relate. I can relate. We can all relate. I'm a perfectionist too. I like to do things right, but I have learned with, a lot of hard knocks to my head that I'm never going to not be human. And if I keep resisting my humanity, I'm going to find myself in really costly situations. All right. So let me see. I'm trying to think if I have any links that I can speak to here. Okay. Let's see here. Just trying to think. I haven't been able to have Peter Levine on my podcast yet. He's, a legend in healing work. And, his book, Waking the Tiger, changed my life, guys. I read that book, I want to say 16 years ago, Waking the Tiger. Yep, by Dr. Peter Levine. In fact, do I have that book on my shelf here? I do. I always keep it close at hand. This is what the book looks like. Waking the Tiger, Healing Trauma. And there's his name there, Peter Levine. And he's out there, guys. If you Google him on YouTube, he has so many talks. Now, his technique is different. I spoke to two teachers, Peter Levine and Raphael Kushner. Raphael Kushner, besides being on my podcast, has his own website, kushner.com. I'm going to put that actually in the comments here, Stephanie, because he has a lot of complimentary. I just want to make sure I got his domain right. Let me just check it quick here. Kushner.com. He has a lot of things for free on his website. And I want you to use those as a resource because, here, there's Raphael's website. So Raphael's technique is the technique I was teaching you. What's happening now? Can I be with it? That technique, his practice, and Raphael's book is The One Thing Holding You Back. And that book and his technique, Levine's work for me helped me comprehend what was happening for me. It helped me understand the physiology of trapped emotions. It helped me understand that being a perfectionist, having to do everything right, never making a mistake, helped me understand where that all came from. But then what, right? Now what, so to speak? I did so much work with Raphael for myself personally. I would not be here today if it wasn't for Raphael. He has been my Yoda for many, 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 many years. And his technique is what the technique I use now with my clients because of him and because of what I saw it did for me. Changed my life, guys. Like this coaching that I do with you guys and the tools that I talk to you about, these are not tools that hypothetically might work. These are tools that worked for me, healed me, helped me overcome and live a different kind of life in spite of the trauma I've been through. And, you know, I don't even think I'll write a book on that trauma one day because it's just too much. It's just too much. What I have lived through, what I have gone through, what I've had to journey through would fill a stadium. Everybody has their journey, but all the tools that I got to help me cope with all the different crazy things I've gone through changed my life. And that is why I do what I do, because this shit works and I want it to work for you. And if the things I've gone through and the pain I've endured can be, can help somebody not have as much pain, help somebody else, get their healing quicker, then it feels like, okay, worth it all. Worth it all. All right. I'll see you guys back on Thursday. I'll be here at 8:30 Eastern. Please come to the conversation with questions. Hopefully, Liz is going to come back and will let me do some coaching with her. Stephanie may or may not come back to do that actual dry run of that technique. But please, anybody else who wants coaching on a challenge that they're facing, come to the conversation. Good. Yes, just investigate for now, Stephanie, and then we can, cross that bridge when the time is right. And you might want to do it by yourself too, because it usually does kick up a lot of emotion for everybody. Everybody's different. But one of the things Raphael says, that's one of my favorite quotes, is he says that the dragon, all of us are so afraid to be with, so afraid to feel, when we finally, you know, in get the courage mustered up to face it and open it and look at that horrific, frightening thing, feel that frightening thing we've avoided feeling, we all discover that that dragon actually turns out to be a gerbil drag. I love that from him. What we fear is sometimes not quite as bad as we thought it would be. And that is a life-changing moment because it makes you realize, oh my God, the fear, just like what is it Teddy Roosevelt's quote, guys? Who's a quote person here? The only thing you have to fear is fear itself. I think it's Churchill, right? That is what is often stopping all of us. We don't want to feel those hard to be with emotions. So we just keep saying busy, busy, busy. Traders just keep trading, trading, trading. They overtrade because they don't want to feel an emotion. They don't want to feel the feelings of what comes up for them when they make a mistake. They don't want to feel the feeling of not being perfect. They don't want to feel what it's like to not be a straight A student. But all of those feelings that they're avoiding have them by the tail and are flying you guys around. So, be more afraid of living the rest of your trading career like that than being with a couple of minutes or, a couple of moments where you go visit a hard to be with feeling. It's not that bad. You can handle it. I promise you. If you're a trader, you're tough. You can handle anything. Trust that you will have what you need to handle these hard to be with emotions. They're not as overwhelming as you think. They aren't going to put you out for the count. They're just going to be hard for a few minutes. But then you wind up seeing you have a lot more autonomy than you ever could have imagined. And that is worth it. I promise. Take it from one who has been on both sides. This is a much better place to live from. All right. I love you all so much. And I am sending you good juju to navigate the rest of tomorrow. And hopefully I'll see you guys Thursday at 8:30 Eastern. Okay. Aloha for now. Ahui.